Medeiros, while Roman Krenikov had a near perfect day number one, Justin Medeiros had the two worst finishes of his career, rebounded in test number 3, but currently sits in 23rd place.
Sean, the true test of a champion lies not on whether he can triumph, but whether he can overcome obstacles. And that is the next 3 days of competition for Justin Medeiros.
Sam Quant, meanwhile, sits in 35th place overall. He has 3 tests to get himself inside the top 30, because remember, we are cutting 10 athletes at the end of the day. And the alpaca is underway. We start with the sled push, and right now it is loaded with 544 pounds, 6 kettlebells weighing 70 pounds, about 31 kilograms, and the total on that sled in kilos is 246. They'll ditch 2 kettlebells at each line.
But Jason Hopper in the back left part of your screen is getting pinned by this sled. Now, fortunately, the sled gets lighter as you go down, but look at the struggle from one of the more powerful athletes in the field. Sean, as you said, every 42-foot section, they'll drop off 2 kettlebells of the 6 that they have, weighing 70 pounds apiece. So you're just knocking off 140 pounds each time through. It should get easier, but the fatigue level that starts this test is going to blow these athletes up before we even get to the most technical aspect, which is these seated legless climbs.
At the bottom of the screen, it looks like Jack Farlow, now in the middle of your screen, who's your leader. Will Morad is right behind him in second place. 18-minute time cap here. The timing is presented by G-Shock, the official watch of the Noble CrossFit Games. And Jake Douglas also towards the front here. And Kaike Servani is done with his sled push, and he will move to the ropes.
Now, this was the thing last year, Sean, is that we had to get rid of the legless climbs. One other thing to note, this isn't the exact alpaca test that was programmed last year. The kettlebell clean and jerks went 20, 15, 10 for a total of 45. This year, it's even rounds across the board of 12, 12, and 12, which is 9 less. So not only are we adding these seated legless climbs that should help the gymnastic skilled athletes, but we also removed 9 heavy clean and jerks as well.
There are 49 total scored repetitions in this test. At the 6 rep mark, that is when the athletes will return to their first set of kettlebells for those 12 clean and jerks.
For the standard on these legless, you have a mark at the bottom. Both hands must be clearly below, show control, and come down to a seated position. Once the hands drop below, do what you want.
And Justin Medeiros is one of the first men off, along with Kaike Servani.
Sean, we were talking last night is how this could be a great bounce back event for Medeiros. He got 5th last year in the alpaca version that we had in 2022. But if you think back to semifinals last year, not having a clean run that we're used to for Justin, well, what did he do when we came out and we had these seated legless rope climbs in the test? He set the test record worldwide. So this is a good bounce back test for Justin Medeiros.
Let's go down to Mike Arsenault with more on the 2-time champ.
I had a chance to speak to Justin's coach before test number 4 here, and of course we saw the damage on his chest from falling off his bike in test number 1. His chest feels much better this morning, and through those first 2 tests outside, he just didn't feel like himself. So his coach, Adam Neiffer, said they're a little bit, not necessarily concerned, but unsure of how Justin's body would react to being on the floor with the heat, the humidity, and that sunshine. Felt much more comfortable in test 3 inside the Coliseum. So we'll see how he fares here outside at the North Park before we head indoors for the rest of the day.
Justin Medeiros and Sam Quant, 2 men who we expected to be much higher in the standings at this point, are your leaders right now.
They had 2 different starts to the day. Quan got 7th to start test 1, where Medeiros is 29th, 37th, but 35th and 30 for Quan on the end of the day.
Kaique Servani, Justin Medeiros, Sam Quant, and now Will Morad, the 4 men moving their sleds, now loaded with 2 70-pound, 31-kilo kettlebells. That sled weighs about 124 pounds, 56 kilos.
So when you look at the added element that we have here, Sean, of the seated legless rope climbs coming back, that goes into play of how some athletes decide to push the sled. Do I hook my shoulders underneath to save my hands versus straight out in front? The kettlebell clean and jerks, smoking the grip, the pushing the sled, having your hands pressed against that is actually going to tax your grip more than people think. Just because you're pushing does not mean you're not smoking your grip. And so what we've seen is a lot of athletes are breaking up these clean and jerks more than last year because it's all going to come down to how you navigate these rope climbs.
Medeiros and Servani now on their second set of 2 rope climbs.
You see Justin Medeiros on the left. He has very short, choppy pulls, where Servani on the right is longer. Servani on the right will actually almost extend his top arm to pull him up. That is not as strong of a position to be in on a pulling movement. So the difference between the two is curious, where you may have the ability to do a long pull like that, but it's not a beneficial thing to do. What I'd rather do is, say, a chin-up from a 90-degree position or a full extended position. 90 degrees is the place you want to be.
Justin is now through his second rope climb, and he is starting to separate himself from the men that were in the lead here.
And there you see the struggle. Over pulling, too much biceps in the mix versus using the lats to help you get pull. And now his grip's smoked and you miss a rope climb.
Jack Farlow and Sam Quan are also done with their second round of rope climbs, as is Will Morad. So it's Medeiros in the lead right now in the first of these 2 heats. Again, Medeiros in 23rd place overall, had the 2 worst finishes of his career yesterday in ride and then in the pig chipper. 12 more clean and jerks, 70 pounds each on the kettlebells, and then they will load those back onto the sled and push it forward.
If you've never tried kettlebells at home, maybe you've used dumbbells, it's a night and day difference between using a barbell. The kettlebells are unevenly weighted. They're odd. They're called an odd object for a reason. And a big thing about here is getting comfortable with the weight distribution, getting comfortable with the awkwardness that is a kettlebell. Now when you add some weight to it, I'm just talking about regular kettlebells, it's a whole nother beast in general.
Farlow, Medeiros, and Quant, your leaders now. Morad has fallen a couple of reps behind the leaders. Farlow and Quant on the left side. Medeiros is on the right, and now he is loading his kettlebells onto the sled, and he will push it forward to the next line and then return for 2 more rope climbs.
And we said the nice part at the beginning of this test was you get to continually unload your sled as you work your way down the field. The worst part of this test, as the sled gets heavier as you get further and further into the test itself. So usually when we say, you do a 21-15-9 format, it's designed to keep the intensity and the speed up the whole way. This, quite the opposite.
Jack Farlow is your leader. Justin Medeiros sits in second, and it's Will Morad and Sam Quant fighting for third right now. Medeiros is taking another break on this sled push.
And that's a bit of a red flag for Medeiros, is because we saw this happen yesterday on the bike. We saw this happen yesterday on the pig chipper out here on the field. And what it looks like is that he's just getting gassed. There's something not right with Justin Medeiros, because he has never had an issue with this type of test. So the question remains is, what is going on with Justin?
His family in the crowd here trying to urge him on as he is heading back to the rope for his final round of climbs. Jack Farlow is the leader, and Farlow is making his first ascent here, and that rep will count. Let's go down to Mike Arsenault with more on Jack Farlow.
Thank you very much, Sean. So in test number 1, Jack's legs cramped so severely that he could barely shuffle through his final transition on test number 1. He's also training partners with Emma Lawson. So this, as you mentioned, his first year at the games. Emma has been an integral resource just helping Jack navigate all the challenges of being a rookie at the CrossFit Games. Currently 37th place. Of course, we have a cut coming. The top 30 will move on. Jack is big and strong, very good on the Olympic lifts. He wants to get himself inside the top 30 to be able to show off later this weekend.
Justin Medeiros on his first of his final 2 rope climbs. He will make it. Jack Farlow, meanwhile, is done. So Farlow is working his way back to the kettlebells and sled for his final 12 clean and jerks.
When you think about clean and jerk, you think about Jack Farlow. This kid is unbelievably strong. Clean 400 pounds, has jerked 400 pounds. So 2 kettlebells of 70 each hand plays to his strengths.
Farlow getting right to work. You see Jason Hopper at the bottom of your screen. He just got done with the second round.
The beginning of this test, Jason Hopper probably pushed 5 times in a row, and that sled maybe moved 5 inches.
Here comes Medeiros. The good news for Justin is that he is still in second place in this heat, but we still have 20 more men to go after this.
Justin has still some of the better legless climbs in this heat. That's where he's gaining a lot of his time. Round 1 of this test, handled the clean and jerks, took 1 break, pushed the sled 42 feet. On the second round, much different story. Still took 2 sets in the clean and jerks, rested more, and had to take 2 breaks on the last sled. This last sled push is going to be harder than the previous one.
Jack Farlow on the left side. This is his first individual appearance at the CrossFit Games. Former team competitor. Finished 6th as a teenager in the 16 to 17-year-old division in 2019, and he is now done. Now all Farlow has to do is get the sled to touch the blue paint in the end zone, and he will be able to cross the finish line.
If you're curious of how heavy this is, we saw the men flip a 510-pound pig yesterday. This is like taking that pig and trying to push it across the field flat on its belly, plus an extra 40 to 50 pounds.
Fully loaded, that's 544 pounds, 246 kilos that he is trying to lug down that field. And Medeiros is taking a break and taking a knee as Jack Farlow is just about 5 feet from finishing this thing. Ant Haynes is on the kettlebells for the final time as Farlow is in. So Farlow's going to take the first heat, 12:54.31 seconds. Ant Haynes is pushing Justin Medeiros for second place right now. Nick Matthew is there as well, as is David Sharunki. One final push for Justin Medeiros here. And there goes Justin.
Sharunki is done.
Well, David Sharunki is the biggest athlete in the field. He's 227 pounds. And he is starting to get that sled moving as Medeiros takes a break.
The trick here, Sean, is that you gotta make sure you don't dip the nose of the sled down into the turf. The problem with Sharunki is that he is so tall, it's very difficult to get parallel with the ground and make sure that push is going directly forward and not down.
Well, Sharunki's got his hands on that thing to try to hold the back end down. It looks like he is gonna make it across. So Justin Medeiros has now watched another man pass him in this heat as Sharunki gets in. Second place in the heat at 14:04.63 seconds, and Medeiros still working on that final push as Ant Haynes is now done with his final 12 clean and jerks. And Nick Matthew is just about done as well. They're at the right side of your screen. There goes Medeiros. Again, he's just got to get it into the blue. And that will do it for Justin Medeiros. And he is in. 14:31.17 seconds. Here goes Ant Haynes. And Jason Hopper's made up some ground as well. He's back to the kettlebells for the final time. Ant Haynes just about done, and he is there. Now Nick Matthew is working on his sled push. Haynes at 15:02.37 seconds. You can text macro to 69456 to get a free beef for life plus 40% off trifecta meal delivery. Eat Elite. Nick Matthew looks to be the next man to finish here. 18-minute time cap. So 2.5 minutes to go before we hit that. Matthew coming in 26th place overall. His best finish came last night in the inverted medley when he took 8th. They got Sam Quant and Bronislaw Olenkowicz on their final sets of clean and jerks as Nick Matthew is across. Jason Hopper has loaded up his kettlebells and he will now start on his final sled push. Looks to be the next man across.
I hope this gives people perspective of how hard this sled push is. Like I said to start, Jason Hopper is not a small man. Jason Hopper is not a weak man, and this sled is just stopping him dead in his tracks.
Here comes Bronislaw Olenkowicz at the top of your screen in the blue shirt, threatening to pass Hopper.
Look at Bronislav's hips relative to Jason Hopper's though. Bronislav's hips are below his shoulders as he's staying low. Hopper's hips are high, so that's what's driving the end of that sled down. Bronislav's isn't, it's staying nice and flat to the surface. That's the big difference between the two.
And Olenkowicz gets across the finish line. 17:12.14 seconds for him as Jason Hopper is just inching closer to the finish. The crowd trying to get him there. And 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap. As Sam Quant is starting his final push, Hopper will get in. Quant has 15 seconds. This one's going to be close. And now Quant will make it. And he will be the last man across. Quant taking 8th place in the heat with a time of 17:56.21 seconds. And again, Sam Quant came into this test on the wrong side of the cut line. 35th place overall. He's got to gain some ground here.
Yeah, we have 20 more athletes that are coming. And you talk about the difference between the two alpacas from last year to this year, Sean. It's half the time. The winning time of 12:54. Last year, 6:23. So nearly exactly twice as hard as last year's alpaca. Justin came out early lead. Good sled push to start. Great on the legless rope climbs, but then it started to take its toll. Farlow makes a move on the second round and leans on his strength to put himself ahead of Justin going into the final push. And Jack Farlow, rookie here at the CrossFit Games individually, good start to day number 2.
Jack Farlow with a top time of 12:50.